Gameranx presents another episode of Before You Buy, the show where we give you some straight up gameplay and some of our thoughts on the latest games releasing. It's me, Jake, and today we're talking about Strafe. It's a 90s inspired indie first person shooter that seemingly capitalizes on your nostalgia. I mean, look at it. Did you grow up playing Doom or early Quakes on your PC? Well, Strafe is basically the biggest fans of that era, and it definitely shows. Straight up, from the starting presentation alone, there's cheesy old FMV cutscenes that introduce you to the game and its tutorial elements and stuff. And with that, Strafe definitely steps into familiar territory, at least for some people. I mean, I love this shit. This genre, this style it's emulating. It's what I cut my teeth on playing games as a kid, so naturally, it feels good to jump back in. The little presentation elements here and there, from the way you die to some of the menu screens and everything in between, really all just serve as kind of a love letter to some great old games, even down to a filter you can apply to make the game look quote-unquote worse. And I will say that Strafe is a good, fun, and challenging shooter that I think its one big issue is a design choice that we'll get to. But otherwise, it does play fantastically. Shooting is smooth, it's responsive, and it's seriously fast. And that's how it should be. The PC requirements aren't really too demanding, so I do recommend playing it there if you can. This is where PC and mouse speed and precision really show its usefulness. I don't want to sound like an elitist too much, but it's just good. This game pushes high speed and high frame rates with a classic look to it. And it's not for everyone, but that speed and precise shooting will probably just click with some people. You fly through corridors, blasting enemies with a choice of one of 3 starting weapons. There's a shotgun, an assault rifle, which kind of sucks, and a railgun. Don't worry though, you'll be picking up way more exciting weapons throughout the levels, and then you can scroll through with the mouse wheel. There's lasers, rocket launchers, etc. With that stuff, if you're a bit older school, you might feel right at home here. There's like some degree of rocket jumping, but most importantly, the game embraces bunny hopping, the awesome way to build up momentum and fly through levels as fast as possible. That to me was a huge plus, and I do think newcomer developers Pixel Titans did do a great job spending a ton of time on enemy types as well. There's a nice variety that honestly, you kind of have to work hard to get through the early levels to see. Since the game is so challenging, it will take you a while to get more enemy variety, but when you do, that's when the game picks up even more. But the most impressive thing is the amount of different ways you can gore and kill these enemies. Giblets explode and bounce through everywhere, leaving pools and piles of blood and guts, and it's cool and hilarious and oddly satisfying. The fact that you can disassemble these enemies with a gun just feels good, and I think it does make up for the lack of oomph the guns have. You've probably seen a lot of other people complain about this, but the animation and sound design for the guns just don't make it feel like you have a badass shotgun or a rocket launcher. It just doesn't totally mesh well. But the shooting mechanics totally keep this game alive, because I frankly don't think the roguelike design works here. Yeah, you probably didn't expect it to have roguelike elements, but the way it works is you go through permadeath runs through randomly generated levels, trying to get to the final level with brief little in-between interlude periods to spend earned currency on little upgrades that, if I'm honest, don't really seem to do much at all. Unfortunately, a lot of levels quickly become predictable because you can easily tell the foundation blocks that are generated and pieced together for the random level generation. And if you are looking for that Quake style thing of learning a map, the ins and outs and the weapon placement down to a T, you're not gonna have that here. But for some people, it can be argued that since this is just a shooting gallery game, if you're bunny hopping and flying through the levels, you're not really gonna notice it. But that kind of just comes with the game type. That's not a big deal. Something that I have seen a lot of people take issue with, and myself included, is the fact that the base level enemies simply run towards you, which often just kind of encourages funneling them through a hallway and then just kind of easily sitting there and blowing them all away. It feels a bit lame, especially for this style of game, and for the first few levels, the enemy types don't really encourage you to fly through the level dodging stuff as much as you technically should. Because the game is technically survival based and you're trying to carry over your health and ammo and shields as far as you can, self-preservation instincts can kick in and you can play fight or flight to conserve health and armor. And the way the game's design works, it technically encourages that. And I just don't think it works very well. But I can also argue that you can just not play that way, but the fact that the design encourages that seems a bit detrimental to the experience, you know? While I don't think it totally works, I will applaud them for taking the classic style genre and adding the roguelike application to it, you know, to make it a bit more of a modern experience so it's not just a carbon copy of an old game, but it also just cuts into what made the old school experience great. You can, like I said, just play the way you used to, which does usually work, and I will say the shooting mechanics and the outright challenge and just how freaking hard this game really is does help soften the blow that is the big problem with the design of this game. Like, the act of just running around and shooting things feels so good that I think it saves the problems. So that should say a lot about the actual shooting mechanics. They're still not perfect, but I do think they make up for the shortcomings. You know, for quick roguelike runs, it can be fun. Strafe is totally good for quick pickup and plays. You know, blast the music, blow up a bunch of stuff, play for the extremely hard difficulty, and just see how far you can get in a run. Look, it's only a $20 game, and for that, I think it succeeds. You don't get a ton of content, but thankfully the shooting and the runs don't get as old as quickly as you would think they would. If you're looking for a 100% excellent experience, very much echoing Quake, I think you'll be a little bit disappointed. Lower your expectations. But I think if you want some of that style in a quick FPS chaotic playthrough, give it a shot. It's fast and it's fun. But that's how a Before You Buy works, guys. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion thrown in there, and now I definitely want to hear yours. Seeing as I pretty much like this game, I have seen it having a lot of mixed reviews on Steam, so I do want to know what you guys are thinking out there. If you got your hands on it, maybe you've just seen it, how are you feeling on Strafe? And also, if you have been playing, what's your favorite starting weapon? I just rely on the shotgun. It seemed to be the most effective, but let's talk about anything Strafe down in the comments. I'll be answering as many questions as you have about the game, but I'll also be on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Jake Baldino if you want to yell at me over there too. But it must be said, clicking that like button helps us out a ton. We really do appreciate it, you guys, and if you're new for some reason, subscribing is a good idea because we put out stuff like this all the time. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.